True crime meets Hollywood. Brooklyn meets Boca with Sharon Pfeiffer. Welcome to William Steele True Crime. Thank you for joining my podcast, my YouTube, and check me out on Rumble too. We're moving over to there. Listen, for all my fans, you know I try to do inspirational stories of a turnaround, especially people that are doing good and interesting things, reinvented themselves. And so we have another guest that falls right into that today. So she's a spectacular actress, comedian. I don't even know. Look, I've been locked up 18 years. I don't even know if I'm allowed to call somebody an actress these days. Everything's politically correct, but it is what it is. But anyway, so my guest today, very fortunate. She's working on a project called From Brooklyn to Boca, and we're going to talk about many of the other things she's done, including appear with Matthew McConaughey, right, in a movie called Beach Bum, I believe it was called. And so let me introduce Sharon Pfeiffer. Sharon, thank you so much for joining us here.
Thank you for inviting me. I am pleased to be here. Thank you.
It's a pleasure getting to know you. And, this is a learning experience for everybody. My fans, who may not know you from Inmate to Roommate, I have the show on A&E, and that a lot of them are following me here. Thank God. I'm trying to find ways to bring more of them over. Tell us who you are. Tell us about your background. I know that you have some really personal mob ties and situations that you extracted yourself from, delicately and through much trepidation. Tell us who you are and how you got to do what you're doing today.
Okay. Well, again, my name is Sharon Pfeiffer. I live in South Florida now, but I am originally from New York, Long Island to be exact. And you talk about reinventing yourself. Well, I left New York in 1998, not because I wanted to, but I really had to. My life at that point in time, I was basically what you would call a mob wife. But the person that I was married to, we had already gotten divorced. And then I got into another relationship with someone that turned out to be just unbelievably, I want to use the word a maniac, like just a really, just a bad person. And it had gotten to the point where there was no way to get out of that life unless I literally left. I literally left the state. And when I tell you I left in the middle of the night, I left in the middle of the night. I left 2 nail salons. I left my family. I left my friends. I left my businesses. I left everything, packed up. My brother helped me. My best friend at the time helped me. We packed a U-Haul truck and I came to South Florida and, got what I thought was an undetectable phone and tried to start my life over. Unfortunately, that person found me. And so that brief respite from him was brief. He found me after, I'm not kidding, after probably 5 weeks, I think it was. And then the process started again. But the difference between New York and Florida, like we talked about, William, earlier, is Florida, they do not go for any of that nonsense at all. So when I went to the courthouse to complain, they were like, where is he? Like they were salivating. Where as opposed to in New York, where they were like, lady, go home. We're not interested. We don't even care. The captain plays golf with his lawyer. Get out of here. Like they didn't, it was just a totally different mindset. I mean, I had advocates here where I did not have anyone in New York. In New York, it was like, you're not bleeding, go away. So it was totally different. And I ended up getting a lifetime restraining order against that individual. And not that it mattered, because it didn't keep him away. It really didn't. But subsequently, I ended up, like I said earlier, reinventing myself, going from being this nail tech, manicurist, mobster girl. And I am now an actor. I'm a writer. I'm a producer. I work in the construction field, an all male dominated field. And I am a stand-up comedian. I do comedy at least once a week. And I do that, which, can you imagine doing that? If I still lived that life, it would never happen. And so, I really completely reinvented myself and extricated myself from that whole life. So, I'm kind of proud of myself.
I looked at your IMDb page, and you have been involved with many, many productions, and you sent me your bio as well. And I didn't even realize it was that many television appearances, roles, various movies. You, like you said, you've literally reinvented yourself. It's incredible.
Yes.
What made you first get involved with, what gave you the acting bug or the bug to want to be so public after you've kind of been laying low and like, man, I just don't want anybody to look at me or find me, to like, you know what, I'm putting myself out there and I'm going to have fun and do this?
It's a twofold answer. First, to answer how did I get into acting? I have always wanted to be an actor, William, my whole life. Since I'm a little baby girl. But I come from a very big family. I have 4 brothers and a sister. So, it was like, no, that's not happening. Like, we didn't grow up like that. I was brought up, you're going to work, you're going to school, you're not going to be an actor.
Right.
So, and then I had my daughter very early. I was married young and I had my daughter very young. And so, once you have children, I don't know if you have any children, but once you have children, your life gets put on hold, and that's it. Sorry, I thought I turned my phone off. Hang on.
Right.
And your life gets put on hold. So I just put my dreams away and focused on raising my daughter. And which, by the way, I was divorced from her dad. She was barely 9 months old. So I was a single mom until she was 15 years old. Just FYI. So I raised my daughter by myself. But what happened, and when I got into the acting, was not until she was out on her own. And she was about 21 years old. And she went back to New York, believe it or not. She was like, bye, Mom. I've had enough of Florida. And then I got divorced from my second husband. And I was kind of at a crossroads. I was like, what do I want to do for me now? And I said, if I don't do it now, I'm never going to do it. So to answer the second part of your question, how did you decide to be so public? I have to tell you, William, and I hope this doesn't come off cocky to your viewers or your listeners, but I was never intimidated or afraid, other than when I actually went to go get my restraining order. And that was really more about not so much being afraid. It was because he wouldn't leave me alone. He would not leave me alone. I was not afraid of him. I have a concealed weapons permit. I have a nice little Lady Smith 38 that I'm not afraid to use. I'm not afraid. I will never let anybody make me be afraid.
Right.
And I don't live in fear. And I'm not going to let anyone stop me from pursuing my dreams. Certainly not that person.
Right.
Okay. So, it was a matter of me taking my control of my life, control of my destiny, and just pursuing my dreams. Right. Isn't that what we're here to do?
Yep. I have your page up here. I know the other day you posted something about your star meter. I'm new to this. I do have an IMDb page now. And, they wanted like proof of the episodes I'm in. I'm in every episode, second most popular reality show in the country, only under Jersey Shore Vacation. So, but I'm building out my page now. What does that mean? You put something very recently.
What it means.
Score to another score.
Well, the lower your number, The closer you get to one is the more popular of a star you are. Okay, so let's say Robert De Niro is probably 40.
Gotcha.
Right. So when I was doing all the PR and everything for the Beach Bum and Matthew, when all that was happening back in 2019, my lowest number that I've ever gotten to is that number that you see that I posted, that 2,000 out of millions and millions and millions. I mean, I have friends that post their star meter and their star meter is, 1.5 million. And I'm like, I wouldn't post that. Like, I just wouldn't post that. You know what I mean? Because that's not.
But now you have something to brag about, so why not, right?
But now my star meter is 50,000. So I'm trying to get it back down to 2,000. And the reason my star meter now is at 50,000 is I haven't done anything. I haven't done anything since notable since 2019.
Right.
I really haven't.
How did you get that role with Matthew McConaughey?
It's a fun story, and I'll keep it brief. We're actors, so we're always auditioning. And when that movie came to town, we were all auditioning, throwing our hat in the ring, right? So I auditioned for whatever role was appropriate for my category, right? A certain demographic, you're a certain age, you only fit in certain roles.
Right.
Well, my agent called me one day and he said, I want you to go audition for this certain role. It happened to be a prostitute, right? Okay. But I was like, well, you know what? It has dialogue. And if I can book it, what the hell? To have a scene with Matthew McConaughey with dialogue, I'm going to go for it. So I end up going to the audition, and it's a SAG audition. So you don't expect a SAG audition to be a cattle call. And I walk into this SAG audition thinking it's going to be me and 15 other people, maybe. Guess what? There was like 100 girls there.
Wow.
And when I tell you one girl was more gorgeous than the other, and they were all like in their 20s, and I'm thinking, what the am I doing here? Get me the out of here. You know what I mean?
Right.
And I called up my agent, and I'm like, I'm leaving. I'm going home. And he said, don't leave. You got to stay. Just stay. And it was all the way down in Miami, and I live all the way up here. And I said, what the hell? I'll just stay. So I stayed. And make a really long story short, when I finally, did my audition, I ended up getting a call back. So now I'm thinking, okay, great. A week later, I get the call back, and I'm like, okay, good. Now it'll only be 10 people. Well, P.S. I go back for the call back. There's more women than the first time, because they want to know who's going to do nudity. It's a nudity thing. And if you're going to do nudity, they put an N on you, an N and your number. And I'm not doing nudity, so I have no N. There's no N next to my number. Right. All the girls have N's. N1, N2, and then there's me, 45. So we get into the room. They take in 5 at a time. And I'm thinking, what the hell do I have to do to stand out? Because I'm not going to do nudity, and I'm older. I could be their mother. So I walk in, and I know it's a comedy, so that's my thing. Now, these girls are spectacular. They're spectacular, William, like Playboy bunnies. And they're all in little robes, and they're naked underneath. And I'm not naked. And I'm not going to be naked. And I walk in, and they're all doing like, hi, my name is Tiffany. And, they're like doing modelly things. And I'm like,
ditzy, acting ditzy.
Just like they forgot that this is a comedy.
Right.
You're auditioning for a comedy. And I said, you know what? I'm going to have to do something. So my dress was like a halter dress, right? So I'm standing there. It's 4 girls next to me. We're lined up like we're in prison. We're in a lineup.
Right.
And I stood there, and I could see the one guy is just staring at me. So I took my dress, William, and I went, and I flashed him. I did. And he burst out laughing. He was like, and he started to laugh. And I was like, so then it was my turn to do, we had to do a 360 and slate our name and whatever. And they want us to do this whole turnaround. But my heels were about that high. I'm not kidding. I had stripper shoes on. I can't walk in these shoes. I said, guys, I can barely walk. And they start laughing again. So now we all get shuffled out. The girl comes, the casting director comes out and she says, if we call your name, if we call your number, stay. If we don't call your number, you can leave. Maybe we'll call you for background. Well, sure enough, they called 20 numbers, and mine was one of them. The other 19 are 19 Playboy bunnies. 19 Playboy bunnies and grandma. So I'm like, holy shit, I got called. Then they call me back in with one other girl, and he jumps up. This is Harmony Korine, who's the director. He's a world famous director. He did Gummo and Kids and all these other movies. And he goes, you're not my prostitute. And I was like, okay. He goes, you're my bar girl. And I was like, what? He goes, you're my bar girl. And he looks to the other two guys and he's like, she's my bar girl. And I know the bar girl scene because I read all the breakdowns. And I'm like, I'm not the bar girl because the bar girl gets, I know I can't curse. The bar girl has sex with Matthew McConaughey all over the restaurant. And there's no dialogue. And I'm like, I'm not doing that. And I said to him, I'm like, I'm not doing that. See, there's no N over here, no nudity. And he jumps up and he's laughing. He's like, what? It's Matthew McConaughey. And I want you to, and I'm like, nope. And he goes, because I didn't know he was the director. I had no idea who this guy was. And so then he says, listen, he stands up and he comes right over me. He goes, listen, it's just you and Matthew McConaughey in the scene. So now inside I'm going, Sharon, don't be an asshole. Sharon, don't be stupid. Don't be stupid. So I looked at the director and I go, I know that this scene doesn't have dialogue. So I'll tell you what. If you give me dialogue, I'll do it. He goes, what? And now the casting director behind the camera goes, what? And I said, I'm negotiating over here. If I can't negotiate for myself.
That's
so
right.
He said, I'll tell you what. He said, if you show up to set, I had a big giant flower in my hair. With that flower and that dress and those shoes, I'll give you dialogue. I said, I'll have my people call your people. That's what I said to him because I didn't know who he was. I thought he was just like a producer or somebody. Had I known he was the director and the writer, I probably never would have said any of those things. I would have been scared. You know what I mean?
It's better you didn't know at the time.
It's better that I didn't know. And meanwhile, he goes, okay, great. He takes his phone out, takes my picture. He goes, great. I'll have Lashana call your agent. And I was like, so now my knees start shaking because now I'm like, did I just negotiate a role with Matthew McConaughey? And I was like, oh my God. Now, P.S., don't forget, there's another girl in the room waiting to do her thing. And I just kind of looked at her and I was like, good luck. And I walked out. And the rest is history. I mean, I have a 3-minute scene, which doesn't sound like a lot. People watch and go, 3 minutes. What's that? 3 minutes in a 1.5 hour movie is a nice scene.
Well, the A-List actor.
It's me and Matthew and an Oscar winner. I mean,
look, it's funny because
and
my first episode of Inmate to Roommate, I couldn't eat pork. I couldn't do all these things in the house. And I said, hey, I'm a Brooklyn guy. Everything's negotiable. We have to work all these rules.
Everything's negotiable. That's right. Everything's negotiable. I was like, I mean, it's Matthew McConaughey. You know what I mean? Everybody was like, you're going to be nude? I'm like, it's Matthew McConaughey. Of course I'm going to be nude.
Right.
And I mean, how many women my age get the opportunity to do something like that? I might have thought different when I was younger. I probably wouldn't have done it.
Don't knock the ones who played the prostitutes because didn't Julia Roberts play one in Pretty Woman and look at her now?
Yeah, but she wasn't nude. No. I mean, I was totally nude. I was totally nude.
Okay, I missed that one. I was in prison when that.
Well, you didn't watch it. You didn't watch it.
We don't get a lot of movies in prison.
The Beach Bum with Matthew McConaughey. Nobody saw it, but I'm still getting residuals because everybody rents it. And
Oh wow!
let me tell you something. If I never make another movie in my lifetime, who cares?
Right.
I got to be, who cares?
That's a great story. I'm glad I asked that question.
Yeah, it was.
So many people want to know how this works. Like, how did she get in, or how did he get in? I could do that, So
you know what the best part of it, William? You know what the best part of it is? The role was written for a 20-year-old Latina girl.
Right.
A big booty, Latina girl.
Right.
And I booked the role. So, like, for all my sisters out there that you're older, like if anybody watched the Oscars the other night and all the women got up and said, "Don't give up your dreams. It doesn't matter how old you are." I agree. You just don't give up. Just keep doing your thing.
Yeah. Just keep on doing it. Do you, and
don't
worry about the haters and the trolls. Like I said, there's no social media when you're in prison. So I get this show, and all the fans are showing me mad love. There's like millions of fans, but occasionally a troll. Like, who the F do you think you are? You were in prison. You don't appreciate the people that are helping you, even though they're like abusing me on national television, and I have to bite my freaking tongue because I'm on parole. And I want to tell them off, and they're disrespecting my woman on a regular basis. So I had to bite my tongue, and I pick up these trolls, and the network's like, if you get trolls, we have a moderation team and a legal team. We'll handle anything you get now that you're one of our stars or whatever. And so I get all this guidance from the network, about how to behave and everything. And
that's wonderful.
But I took it upon myself to go off on one of them once in Messenger. I said, "Look, man, I'm not hiding. It is what it is. You're hiding in your mother's basement somewhere. Drinking a beer, you're a freaking loser." I said, "I'm not hiding. You keep talking shit about me or my girl, And oh man, I caught holy hell over that from everybody. You can't deal with the trolls by yourself. Let us handle it."
Yeah, let them handle. Listen, he actually is a friend from school, believe it or not, from high school. And you saw my post today on Facebook where I said, "Oh, I'm going to channel my inner mob wife and my dad." And he wrote, "You don't have to do that. Just be yourself." I wrote, "LOL, that is me." Like, what do you mean, just be yourself? That's me. It was funny. I was like,
For my fans, just please, everybody who's joining us, if you're Sharon's fan, my fan, please hit like and subscribe. We're trying to build this channel up. Share this channel. Try to build it up here and on Rumble. William Steele True Crime Podcast. I will let you know that you and I discussed that you were in an investigation discovery series about mob wives.
Yes.
What was the name of that? And I know you said the name of the episode was the Rule Breaker.
The Rule Breaker. Just like you, William.
Right, but guess what? I swear it's such a coincidence because literally, again, in the first episode of my show, here I am with like probably over 20 felony convictions. I escaped from prison. I'm on America's Most Wanted. I'm moving in with this Christian people who, I'm a Christian. I try to change my ways, but I'm not a Bible thumper. But the husband is like leaning against the stove and he goes, "I don't think Bill's a rule follower." And so the episode, the fans, I don't think it's going to work out here. He's not a rule follower. So my fans exploded on this guy. Like, what gave you the first clue? The fact that he spent so many years in prison, or that he escaped from prison, or that he was a notorious jewel and art thief? What made you think Bill is not a rule follower?
I love it so much. I think that's awesome.
Tell us about your series on investigation.
Well, it was short-lived. It was only on for 2 seasons. It was called "I Married a Mobster." It was on the ID channel. Lorraine Bracco narrated it. And it was a really cool series because what they did was every week what they did was they would interview a real mob wife, right? And it was really cool for me because I was already acting at that time. And they had actors reenact scenes from your life, right? So they did how on Housewives of New Jersey, whatever, and how they have the women, like they'll interview them, but then they show them doing stuff, but then they always have them sitting there.
That's exactly how my show is. They interview us sitting down, and then they show things actually playing out.
Exactly. So they had actors doing the reenactments, right? So, which was really cool. I mean, but what was really so funny, the girl who played May was like 5'8". I mean, I'm 5'1". Okay, so that was so weird. The girl was like 5'8", and then the guy they cast to play Ronnie. I mean, you know who Ronnie is. The guy they cast to play Ronnie. Ronnie's 6'4". Okay, Ronnie's 6'4". He's a big man.
Wow.
He was like a little shorty. It was so funny. The girl was so big, and he was. I was like, "What? Who cast this?" Because we didn't have any. We were not allowed to see it until it came out, right. And they edited it so bad. They made it like I was an Irish girl, that I was just Irish. Not that I'm Irish and Italian. My mother's Italian. Like, I'm Irish and Italian, but because my last name is McDonald, I'm the Irish one. You know what I mean? Like, so they made it like, poor Sharon McDonald came from a poor Irish family. And, like, it was so goofy. But, they do what they want. They have creative license to do what they want. Yeah.
I was on one of their shows too, Investigation Discovery, called Cuff Me If You Can, and it showed me like hitting safes and picking locks in Palm Beach, because I was a locksmith. But they had the guy play me. I was always very well dressed, and they had a guy play me like his pants were barely hemmed, like dragging behind him, driving a crappy car. Like,
why would they do that? Why would they do that? Oh, and they made me like I was a serial, like a gangster mall. Oh. You know what I mean? Like it was so funny. I mean, but it was good. And it was when the show aired, everybody was like, "Oh, aren't you afraid? Aren't you afraid?" I was like, "Afraid of what? Afraid of what? What am I afraid of? What?" Ronnie gave me the blessing to do it, and that was really all I cared about. Because Ronnie and I, we will love each other till the day we die.
Can you say his full name on here, or no? You don't want to say that?
I can. Ronnie Trucchio. They call him One Arm. Anybody who out there who is a mob aficionado, if you don't know who Ronnie is, then I don't know what to tell you.
Right. Okay. So what are you doing now? I know we have this, like out of respect for you and what you are working on, what you've been putting out there. We have this Brooklyn to Boca, and you said you're doing some stand-up comedy. So tell us a little bit about what you're working on now specifically. Whatever you want to promote, shout out to whoever. What are you doing now?
I really do want to talk about From Brooklyn to Boca. From Brooklyn to Boca, I have had the idea for this project for literally about 12 years. And I have a co-writer. Her name is Denny Scher. She's an optioned and produced co-writer.
I just watched her video talking about your show on YouTube. I just watched it.
Thank you so much. She really pulled it out of me because I've had the idea in my head. I never considered myself a writer. But I told her about my idea for it. And originally we were going to pitch it as a TV show. We have, 5 seasons out. We have, 10 episodes per season. We had the pilot written and we shot the sizzle reel. But what we realized really quickly, William, is that getting a TV show off the ground is like winning lotto twice in a week. Forget about it. Just forget about it. So we shifted gears. We actually produced it as a play. We had a really successful, professionally done staged read. It got really great response from the audience. And then we decided we're going to make it into a feature film. So right now we are in what we call pre-production because we're just basically ready to go. We are just waiting. We have a production crew, team out of LA, and we're literally waiting for that signature. So, fingers crossed, but who knows? You never know. Things fall apart really quickly and things happen really quickly. So right now that's what we're waiting for. So we have some really great names, LOIs attached. Michael Rispoli, I don't know if you know who that is, but he was Jackie Aprile in The Sopranos. Right. He's attached. So we're really excited. We have some really Mike Marino. I don't know if you know who that is. He's
Yep, I see him
probably one
around.
of
I
the,
see him all over. I think
he
he does
is
comedy as well. Am I mistaken, or does he
he
do
is
comedy as well?
he is a phenomenal, a phenom in comedy, and you need to check him out. But he's an amazing actor, amazing. And we have a couple of other. I don't know if you remember Rhonda Shear. She signed on. She did Up All Night with who's the guy that just passed away? The comedian with the quack quack quack, talked with that voice. Affleck, the guy who just died, Affleck guy. Anyway, so she had a show with and Amy Linden and a couple of other. I'm trying to remember who else we have signed on, but we are very excited. We should be moving forward very soon, and we're excited. So that's
Let me
from
know.
Brooklyn to
Let me know if you need another guy who made his name on A&E.
Listen, when it's time to actually cast, we're going to be throwing a wide net. So
yeah, I saw you post something about that.
Yeah, I'll definitely let you know for sure. Yeah.
Especially because I'm from Brooklyn. I'm from Gravesend, actually, Gravesend, Bensonhurst area.
Oh, yeah. So you probably know all those guys, Willie DeMayo and all them with their show, right?
I spent many, many years in Boca and Fort Lauderdale. I know it like the back of my hand. We were just
I love it. I love
Mary
it.
and I were down there. She's from California, but we went down there a few months ago. We spent time with Tom Madden. He's former vice president of NBC. You said you know his daughter.
Yeah, Adrian. Adrian is a doll.
Yep. So Tom's a very, very dear friend, and we stayed at a friend's house who's actually the editor-in-chief and a crime writer for the National Enquirer. He's my co-author. We stayed at his house in Boca, but then
Wonderful.
Tom's like, hey, use my beach, because he has a condo on the ocean. And so I'd go use his pool and his beach every day. It was gorgeous. We were looking for a place to live.
Fantastic.
Yep.
That is. When are you coming back down? When are you and Mary coming back down?
I'm hoping within the next few weeks to a few months out. We have a few other trips to make for filming. I can't say anything about a season 2, but so whatever. And then plus I'm starting a TV show called Steal the Spotlight, which is going to profile people like you, inspirational people, and like a variety show really, but it's going to have a little clips from these interviews. If you'd like, I could put something from this interview and your thing in it, for 5 minutes or so. But yeah, we're doing that called Steal the Spotlight. And I'm also dabbling in PR, and that's going to be called Steal the Spotlight as well. Also, my co-host on this show, and she's not well today, otherwise she'd be here with us, is Samantha Markle. Samantha is Meghan Markle's sister, Prince Harry's sister-in-law.
Right. Yeah,
So I don't know how I fell into all this straight out of prison. I have I
saw that. I love it. I think that's so great. You're killing it, man. You're killing it.
Billions of views, and I'm trying to figure out ways to get everybody to become subscribers. So please hit subscribe and tell everybody about what's going on here.
I will definitely be, once you air this or however it works, but I'll be making sure everybody watches.
I appreciate
and checks
it.
Out. Yeah, of course.
You have a nice fan base. I check you out. You've always been very cordial and supportive, and I appreciate it.
Yeah,
and this Brooklyn to Boca. Now I read the premise and I saw a little something. It's something about somebody relocating and they're Italian and they pose as Jewish.
Well, Regina's husband. Our protagonist her name is Regina Refuto. Her husband, Frank, forget about it, Frank, is he's a wise guy, and he ends up getting pinched along with the rest of his crew, and they're looking at 20 years. Frank don't want to go back to jail. Frank is actually not a made guy yet, and he feels like, why does he have to go to jail and do 20 years? He's the only one in the crew that's not made yet. Right. So him and Regina sit down, and they're like, look, he don't want to go to jail again. He's already done a bit already. And they have a 12-year-old son. And he says, you know what? They got this thing called the WPP. And he calls it the Witness Proportion Program. And she's like, it's not the Witness Proportion Program, Frank. It's the Witness Protection Program. And you don't want to do that. That would make you a rat. So anyway, they end up going into witness protection. They're supposed to go to Iowa. That doesn't work out. So they end up going to Boca. But here's where the comedy comes in.
Hanging out with
Because
all the
everyone's
other
heard that
Italians
story.
in Brooklyn.
Everyone's heard that story before, witness protection. But here's where the comedy comes in, William. You ready? Not only do they have to go to Boca, but they have to change their names to Greenblatt,
Oh man.
and they have to become Jewish. They have to become Jewish. They got to go to the temple. Frank's got to wear a beanie. You get it? So now they're Jewish. And that's where all the comedy comes in. I'm not going to tell you the end of the movie, but it's a really unexpected ending, and it's really good. There's no violence. There's no killing and all that. None of that. It's a funny, it's just all good stuff. And it really, especially right now where there's so much anti-Semitism and all this nonsense with people hating each other for bullshit. Oh, sorry. Sorry, I didn't mean to curse. But for all these bad reasons, it just really, what it boils down to is we're all the same. We're all the same. And it doesn't really matter where you live or what your name is. We're all the same.
We all want to be happy. We all want to feel love. We all want to protect our children, take care of our children. Look, I saw a clip, I believe it was, or perhaps a part of an interview. Now, I noticed you did a 5-hour interview with Angel Gotti, John Gotti's daughter. Now, so John Gotti, we all know.
Girl. Angel's my friend. Yeah, she's my friend.
I've never seen a 5-hour interview. You were on for almost the whole 5 hours.
Oh my God, we could, and you know what? We could have kept going, but I had work the next day.
Well, shout out to Angel Gotti, and respect for your family, and unfortunately prayers, for your father. We all know the story of what happened. So we shout out to Angel. She's welcome on the show anytime if you
I'll tell her. I'll let her know.
I know she's doing good things. She has her own projects going on as well. But I do remember one of the things you said, I think it might have been in that interview, where you said the girl goes to like the rabbi and she says, how do I arrange to go to confession here? There's no confession in the synagogue. We confess straight to God.
She says, Rabbi, she says, Mr. Rabbi, and he goes, call me Rabbi. She goes, okay, Rabbi, when do you do confession? Because I got a lot to unload. And he says, we don't do confession here. We tell our sins directly to the man upstairs. And she goes, well, I don't know the man upstairs yet. We just moved in. Like silly stuff like that. I mean, it's just all good stuff like that. It's gotta be hysterical.
It's got to be hysterical because I can imagine the challenges fitting in when they're saying not only do you have to go to Boca, where like every other gangster in the world's living right now, from New York, that and Fort Lauderdale. Exactly. How are you gonna hide? Number one, so you're probably ducking people and can't go to certain restaurants, and then on top of that, their change of faith and their accents is like, really, you gonna hide in Boca? That's
they
like
never lose their accent. Look, everybody in Boca nobody in Boca. We all sound like this. I think my accent got worse living in Boca, to be honest, because everybody in Boca is from New York and New Jersey. Everybody.
That's like Meghan and Prince Harry saying they left the royal family for their privacy, yet they moved to Hollywood and seek out every deal they possibly can.
Bingo. Exactly. It's so like weird.
Right,
but it's in comedy, in a comedy, you suspend your belief a little bit, right? I mean, obviously, in real life, they would never send a real wise guy, in the witness protection program to Boca because that would be ridiculous. Especially a New York wise guy, maybe a Chicago wise guy, or maybe an Iowa wise guy. But like you would never do that. But this is a comedy, so that's what makes it funny, right?
I've got a question about this.
It would never happen in real life.
We're working on a drama series about my life and some of the people I knew. I wrote a book about my unfortunate relationship with Ghislaine Maxwell. I knew her. I was with her, whatever, and I was at the Palm Beach mansion. In fact, one of the places we went down to film a few months ago was at the mansion in Palm Beach. When I got there, I found out it was torn down. I didn't know that because I was in prison. So I go there to do some footage for one of the shows and explain how I knew her and how I got away from these people, right? And you know, I just I've lost out on so much being in prison so long, and I thank you for my fans for the understanding and the love you're showing and trying to explain things to me, including like I didn't even know how to tag people on sending out my videos until just a few weeks ago. So I see everybody else doing it. I'm like, what the hell is tagging? I keep having Facebook shuts me down for too much spam on Messenger, and I'm like, wait a minute, I thought that's how I'm supposed to send my links to everybody. So I have people complain.
It's
Hey,
a learning process.
Right. So I want to know this.
It's a learning process.
I think it was Zero, and I heard this, and again, this is something that developed when I was in prison. There's a way to do webisodes like on like maybe YouTube, like episodes of your show. Have you tried that approach? You said you couldn't do it directly to TV, but you said you did the play. Did you ever think of doing
yeah, we're not going to do episodes. We're not going to do that. We're gonna make a feature film.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is that not so much a thing anymore? Or is it people still doing that?
The webisodes on YouTube, I mean, we could do that, but what it would cost us to make an episode, and then, you know, hope to get a following, we really don't want to do that. Okay. Our end game is our end game is we're hoping to bring this, believe it or not, to the stage, to Broadway as a musical, believe it or not.
Well, you know what? Just by the look of your logo, it looks like it needs to be there.
That's our end game. We already have a team out of New York, Frank Galgano and Matt Castle, and they're working on the music already. We already have our first song called "A Better Life," and I would love to play it if I was allowed to, but I'm not allowed to.
Right.
But it's phenomenal, and so that's really our end game, believe it or not. We actually call this feature film the longest sizzle reel in history, because really what we're hoping is that the film is going to do well and do so well that someone is going to say this needs to be on Broadway, and that's really what we're hoping for. So, you know, we have a lot of ideas.
Sharon, you're not gonna. I don't know if this is I'm a little blurry, but I just got an alert that Mike Marino's doing a live right now. Is that him?
Fan of Jason Stewart.
He is. That's Mike.
That's Mike. I stared at my phone and said, "Mike Marino is now live."
Everybody's writing in on
Mike. That's my Mike.
And they're all going to talk to us here on Facebook as well.
You and I have to do a live one day and have both of our fans drop in with questions and all that. We can do.
He's literally one of my favorite people in the whole world. Like he's, if you know, I don't know if you would want to have him on your podcast or
absolutely,
whatever.
Absolutely. And I'd also like to circle back in a few weeks and maybe do a live one of these live with you. Now that we're setting the foundation.
Now that we're best friends, you and I.
Yeah, so that would be kind of cool to have your fans and my fans chime in live while we're doing it. Maybe
I would love to do a live. I would love to do a live with you. Are you kidding me? You know how great that would be? Forget about it.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much for that. Look, please shout out to anything else you want to promote so we can wrap this up and get this.
No, baby. I'm good. I think you covered all of it.
I appreciate your time.
No, I appreciate
your time and your patience and everything with me, and just learning. This is a learning curve, but I learned one thing. You try to let the people tell their own story their way. So I hope I gave you that chance.
Thank you for having me on.
You're more than welcome. Thank you for joining. I
appreciate the opportunity.
All right, so Samantha, we hope you're feeling better soon. We'd like to do a live with you, perhaps, and some of these other guests, including Sharon here. So we just wish you all a good night. Please hit like and subscribe. Check out my true crime podcast, William Steele True Crime. Hit like and subscribe. Share this channel around. I did 18 years in prison. This is how I'm going to earn an honest living. I'm writing books. You'll see the books in the description. You'll see Sharon's projects, links to some of her material in the description. Thank you again for joining, Sharon. Thank you so much for agreeing to be a guest on my show.